our story. It all started out with a plant, a variety of European bellflower used in the making of salads. The plant is called rampion. This plant grew in a beautiful garden belonging to a mean witch whom everybody feared. Unfortunately, the rampion could be seen from a little hut belonging to a peasant and his wife. Every day the wife, who was to have a baby, she'd sit by the window and gaze at the rampion.
Darling, I know this sounds fantastic and utterly absurd, but I have this uncontrollable desire to have a salad made from that European bellflower. You know, rampion.
You mean those weeds there?
Rampion, dear. And I fear I must have some or I shall surely die.
All right, dear. If it's rampion you want, rampion you shall have.
And so the husband sneaked to the garden wall, peered over the top, and leaped into the garden of the witch.
Rampion, schmampion. It still looks like weeds to me. Whoops!
Halt! You cannot move!
You know, you're right.
You have come into my garden like a thief.
Alas, be merciful. I'm only here because my wife sees your rampion.
I think I'll turn you into a toad.
And has such a longing for it that she would die if she could get no rampion.
If that's true, you can take away as much rampion as you like, but on one condition. You must give me the child which your wife is about to bring into the world.
In his fear, the husband consented to everything, and when the baby was born, the witch appeared, gave it the name Rapunzel, which is short for rampion, and took the little infant away with her. Rapunzel grew into a beautiful child. She played in the woods and was very careful of her long hair, which she would comb day after day. When she was 12 years old, the witch shut her up in a tower. It had neither staircase or door, only a small window. Matter of fact, there was only one way to climb up the tower.
Rapunzel, Rapunzel, let down your hair, that I may climb the golden stair.
And that was the way. Well, a couple of years later, the king's son was walking in the forest, and he chanced to hear a song so lovely that he stopped to listen.
Do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do.
The lovely voice came from Rapunzel's tower.
Rapunzel, Rapunzel, let down your hair. Ooh, that I may climb the golden stair. Wow! Rapunzel, I have searched far and wide, but never has my heart been so touched by song or beauty such as yours.
I like you, too.
Will you be my wife and live with me in my kingdom?
Yes, I will gladly go with you because actually there doesn't seem to be any future here. I mean, Rapunzel, let down your hair, let up your hair. Gives me a headache, I'll tell you.
Then it's settled. We'll be married right away. Just let down your hair and we'll be off.
Aren't you forgetting something?
No. What?
Me. If I let down my hair, how am I to get down?
Ah, that's right.
Well, I think you better go now. The witch will soon return.
Oh, don't worry, Rapunzel. I'll think of something. Whoops!
Oh, you've come to fetch your lady love. Well, you goofed. You'll never see her again.
And so the poor prince wandered, unable to see a thing, eating roots and berries. Meanwhile, back at the tower...
Oh, you wicked child. I thought I'd separated you from the world, yet you deceived me just for that.
Well, now you've done it. We're both stuck here now.
Aren't you forgetting?
And so poor Rapunzel was left to live in the tower all alone and in great poverty. The poor prince wandered about in the forest for 2 years. Then, one day...
It's hair.
Yes, hair it was, for in the 2 years Rapunzel's tresses had grown to their full length again.
Rapunzel, I told you I'd think of something, and I have. Only I can't see.
Why don't you take off your hat?
I can see. And now I'll climb down your hair, and when I get to the bottom, I'll explain my plan.
What's your plan?
Jump!
Jump! That's your plan?
Yes!
Some plan.
After 3 days in the barber shop, Rapunzel and the prince were married and lived happily ever afterward. That is, until one day...
Darling, I know this sounds fantastic and utterly absurd, but I have this uncontrollable desire to have a salad made from that variety of European bellflower.
Rampion?
Yes, dear, rampion.
Well, here we go again.
In the land of Harump, which is pronounced like when you clear your throat, there lived an ogre. This ogre was so ugly that he developed powers to change himself so that he wouldn't have to look at his ugly face.
Oh, you are ugly. I have never seen such an ugly face. Change to something else. Well, now you're not ugly, but man, look at those ears.
Aside from being ugly, he was mean and nasty. He kept the whole countryside in slavery because, aside from being uglier than his countrymen, he was also bigger, much bigger. Because of this evil ogre, a miller, tired of trying to make ends meet, died. And to his first son, an energetic type, he willed the mill. To the second son, a simple type, he willed an ass. And to the third son, a dirty type, that is to say, an unwashed type, he left a cat.
A cat? A cat? What can I do with a cat? Cat soup, that's all you're good for.
If you just cool down, I'll show you how I shall be more useful to you alive than floating around in a kettle of carrots and turnips.
Explain to me, if you please, how you can be of use.
Just give me a sack and your finest boots, and you'll find you are not so ill off as you suppose.
Jack decided that he would give the cat a chance, but as he sat there in his stocking feet, he couldn't help wondering what Puss would need the boots for.
Because that's the name of the story, silly. Puss and Boots.
Puss marched out to the fields and set his bag to trap the wild game of the countryside. Puss drew the cord and marched directly to the palace.
Sire, here is magnificent game from the warren of my lord, the Marquis of Carabas.
Tell your master that I accept his present, and I am very much obliged to him. And I order you to the kitchen for something to eat.
While in the kitchen, Puss overheard two servants talking about an intended drive in the country to be taken by the king and his beautiful daughter the next day.
Aha.
Puss had a plan. He rushed home to explain it to Jack.
What? Let me sleep. If there's one thing I can't stand, it's a loud cat. Stop stomping around the room and speak your piece.
Why I don't search out a warm lap by the fireside, I'll never know, for all the gratitude I get around here. However, sir, if you would only follow my advice, your fortune is made. You have to go bathe.
Bathe?
In the river and leave the rest to me. Only remember, you are no longer yourself, but my lord, the Marquis of Carabas.
Bathe? This is a big thing you ask, Cat. A whole new experience, a different way of life. You can't rush into a thing like that. To bathe or not to bathe, that is the question. Oh, it's cold. You didn't tell me it'd be cold.
Never mind that. Shh. Here comes the king. Help! Help! It's my lord, the Marquis. Help! Oh, rueful day! Thieves! Thieves! They stole all my master's clothing while he was bathing.
By George, he must be a clean fellow, bathing on a cold day like this. Well, it so happens I always carry a change of clothing for marquises in distress. He is size 37, isn't he? They usually are.
Size 37, right, sire.
And so Jack, for all appearances, became the Marquis of Carabas and was invited by the king to ride with him and his beautiful daughter in the carriage. Meanwhile, Puss was racing on ahead, putting up signs to lead the king to believe that all the land belonged to his master. Puss put up his signs to the very door of the ogre.
Ouch! What do you think you're doing?
Well, I couldn't think of passing the castle of such a noble gentleman without paying my respect.
Hey, a talking cat.
But talking is not half so remarkable as your many powers. I hear you have the ability to change.
Oh, you mean like this?
That's pretty good, you know.
How about something tough, like changing into something small, you know, like a fly?
A fly? So be it.
Otto! Oh, there you are. Pray tell me who belongs to this beautiful castle.
Welcome, sire, to the castle of my lord, the Marquis of Carabas.
So all of this land and this castle belongs to you. I'm very, very impressed. But I'm much more impressed by that bath of yours. Any marquis who would brave the elements for the sake of cleanliness is worthy to be a son-in-law. Therefore, I would be honored if you would take my daughter's hand in marriage.
And so they were married, and Jack released all the people from bondage and conducted all his important business from the bathtub, and lived happily and cleanly ever after. Once upon a time, there was a shabby little fisherman.
Shabby, but neat.
He lived with a shabby but neat wife on a shabby but neat houseboat in the bay. Every morning, the fisherman kissed his wife goodbye and set out for the sea. One morning, when he was fishing near some odd-looking rocks, he felt a furious tugging on his net. When he pulled it in, he could hardly believe his eyes. He had caught a mermaid, an honest-to-goodness live mermaid.
Oh, joy.
What's so funny, fisherman?
Young lady, you're going to make my fortune. People will pay anything to see a real live mermaid.
But if you take me away from the sea, I'll die of a broken heart.
Are you sure?
It's the usual thing.
Oh, dear, that would never do.
And the fisherman cut his net and freed the mermaid.
Fisherman?
What's the matter? You catch your fins in the net?
No, I've come to repay your kindness.
Oh, that's all right.
I promise to grant you any wish you may ask of me.
Well, I sure do wish this net was mended.
I'll do more than that.
Hey!
And suddenly, the fisherman was holding a beautiful brand new net.
It's true. Oh, wait till I tell Honey Bun.
That night, the fisherman told his wife all that had happened.
Why, I can hardly believe it.
Say, Turtle Dove, why don't you ask me something?
Oh, I don't know.
Go on.
Well, I could use a new apron.
And so, the next day, at the rocks...
Mermaid, mermaid in the sea, will you grant a wish to me? Little poem I just made up.
What is your wish?
Well, my wife would like a new apron.
I'll do more than that. Go, she has her wish.
When the fisherman arrived home, there stood his wife in a golden gown sprinkled with diamonds.
Oh, it's everything I've ever wanted.
But the next day, the fisherman noticed that his wife seemed moody and discontented.
I feel so silly dressing up in a golden gown to do dishes in a houseboat.
It's a nice houseboat.
It's shabby.
But neat.
I don't care. You must ask the mermaid for a better boat.
I don't think...
But I do. Ask her for a boat. A big boat.
So the fisherman returned to the rocks and requested a bigger boat for his wife.
I'll do more than that. Go, she has her wish.
When the fisherman returned home, he couldn't believe his eyes. In place of the houseboat rode an enormous yacht with diamond-studded smokestacks, ruby-encrusted portholes, the sterling silver anchor chain, and on the bow, a twice life-size figurehead of his wife.
Well, she ought to be happy now.
Milady instructs me to dress you for dinner.
But I'm already dressed.
This way, sir.
Oh, isn't this just delightful? You're as rich as a queen.
But if I could be as rich as a queen, why can't I be a queen?
Oh, come on now.
Go ask the mermaid.
But I can't.
Of course you can. Jeeves.
Yes, milady.
And the fisherman suddenly found himself on his way.
You rang.
It's my wife again. She wants to be a queen.
A queen?
Silly, isn't it?
I'll do more than that. Go, she has her wish.
Well, this time, when the fisherman returned, the yacht was gone, and in its place was a solid gold royal barge. On the shore, he could see a fabulous palace.
Oh, I'll bet Sugar Plum is tickled to death.
Kneel, knave, for Her Highness Queen Cleopatra.
Cleopatra? Her name is Gertrude.
Silence! I have another wish.
Oh, no.
If I can be a queen of the earth, why not queen of the universe? Tell the mermaid I want to be a goddess.
No, I'm not going to... Well, if you insist, sweetie pie. Mermaid, yoo-hoo.
Again, Fisherman?
It's my wife. She wants to be... Oh, I just can't say it.
A goddess?
Uh-huh.
Nearly all your wishes have been hers. Have you no wish of your own?
Why, yes. I just want her to be happy.
I'll do more than that, Fisherman. That was your last wish.
Oh, I'm so glad.
Go, your wife is happy.
And when the fisherman returned home, there was his old houseboat, just as it used to be, and waving from the deck was his wife, just as she used to be.
Tell me, honey bun, are you happy?
But of course, what more could I want?
Not even a new apron? That one's pretty shabby.
Shabby, but neat.
The moral of this story is obvious, I think. Be content with what you have, or it takes more than wishes to do the dishes.
Once upon a time, there was a young girl named Goldilocks who, for no other reason besides wanting to get rich, decided to go into business for herself. Taking all the money that she had earned as a chimney sweep, she purchased a large lodge high up in the mountains and set about the task of turning it into a winter resort. She worked very hard getting things ready for the happy, money-bearing crowds that were soon to come, and then, at last, she was done. It was opening day, and she flung open the doors.
Welcome to Goldie's, winter vacationers!
But alas, not one single winter vacationer showed up, for unfortunately, Goldilocks had overlooked one little detail. She had opened her winter resort in the summer.
Oh, drat.
But being a quite intelligent young lady, she immediately realized her mistake.
110 in the shade. My winter resort is much too hot.
And quickly came to a sensible solution.
I will take a walk in the woods until winter comes and cools things off.
And off she went. Now, it so happened that in another part of the forest, not too far away, there lived 3 bears. There was Papa Bear.
I'm Mama Bear.
Oh. And Baby Bear.
I'm Papa Bear.
Oh. Then you must be Baby Bear.
No, my name is Clyde. I'm just passing through.
I am Baby Bear.
Are you sure?
No.
Oh, well, never mind. You'll do. And all summer long, the 3 bears romped.
Tra-la-la-la-la-la-la.
And played in the forest.
Dee-dee-dee-dee-dee-dee.
And were very, very happy.
Doody-doody-doo.
Then, one day, as everybody knew it would, winter came, and it was time for the 3 bears to hibernate.
I'm getting sleepy.
I'm getting sleepy, too.
Not me. Let's romp and play some more. Doody-doody. Do I have to go to sleep?
Yes. Now, come on.
And off they went in search of a place to sleep for the winter. After a while, they came to a big cave, and they went inside, but could not sleep, for it was much too cold.
It's freezing in here.
Yeah, it is sure free. How do I know when I'm cold, Papa?
You turn blue. Let's get out of here.
On they searched until finally they came to Goldilocks' lodge. They scurried up onto the front porch, and Baby Bear carefully tried the front door.
Look, Papa, it's open.
Well, don't just stand there. Go in. Go in.
And once inside, they found that it wasn't too hot, it wasn't too cold, but it was just right. Here was the place where they would spend the winter.
I think I'll sleep here on the sofa.
I'll sleep here in front of the fireplace.
And I will play the piano. Do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do. If you keep hitting me like that, someday you're going to break my spirit.
Never mind. Get to sleep before I rock you to sleep.
With a real rock?
Yes.
Night, Papa.
Meanwhile, little Goldilocks had stopped walking the woods, for winter had come, and winter vacationers could be seen coming up the highway in droves. Goldilocks dashed back to her winter resort ready for business, but when she arrived at the lodge...
Somebody's been fooling with my door. Somebody's been fooling with my piano.
Somebody's making too much noise. I can't sleep.
A bear!
Good heavens, where?
Oh, what's going on?
Another bear!
What time is it?
Good grief, there's 3 of them.
Well, realizing that having bears in her lodge would surely frighten her customers away, she hurriedly tried to get rid of them.
Get out! What do you think you're doing here?
We're hibernating. What are you doing here?
I own the place.
That's no excuse, young lady. Now, go away. I'm sleepy.
And I'm sleepy.
Not me.
Shut up.
Well,
I'm not sleepy, Pop. I don't want to stay here.
Oh, what a mess. Here I am, Goldilocks and the 3 bears.
Hey! Goldilocks and the 3 bears. See, that'll make a good title for a story.
Shut up!
Well, we're
I
gonna
don't
stay
want
right
to whip me
here.
anymore,
Yes, we
Papa,
are.
really.
The vacationers, they're here. All right, you asked for it. Now I'm going to take care of you once and for all.
Don't shoot. I'm a mama bear.
Don't shoot. I'm a papa bear.
Don't shoot. I'm not sleepy.
Shut up!
And so, Goldilocks opened her winter resort right on schedule, and it was a huge success right from the start. And what happened to the 3 bears? Well, Goldilocks solved the problem nicely. For not having the heart to shoot them, she arranged it so they could stay for the winter without bothering a soul. And there they slept, happily, ever after.
Not me. I'm not sleepy.
Shut up!
Did you ever know a boy who got everything he wanted? Well, that was Jack. In fact, Jack was given so many toys by his mother that he became spoiled, and his mother became very, very poor. For you see, she used all of her money to buy toys for Jack until she was left with only one worldly possession, a cow. Except Jack, of course. Aside from being very, very poor, they were continually being frightened by loud thums.
Thumb!
And sometimes fees.
Fee!
Which would come out of the sky like thunder. This was very noisy, to say the least. But Jack's mother decided first things first and sent Jack to the village to sell the cow so they'd have money enough for food. Jack was very inexperienced in the world of commerce, so what did he do? What any young boy would do. He sold the cow for 6 lima beans.
Jack, you've never heard such fumming and thing since you've been gone. I thought the sky would crash in on our heads. How much did you get for the cow, son?
6 lima beans, Mother.
6 lima beans? Why, Jack, you know I don't like lima beans.
But the man said they were magic beans.
Off to bed, Jack. Not another word.
So Jack went to bed without any supper. The next morning, Jack was awakened by a huge beanstalk growing right outside his window. Jack thought to himself, beanstalks this big are for climbing. And so he did. He climbed, and then he climbed some more. Finally, he reached the top. He didn't know that he was in the land of Fum. Or is it Fee? Jack started out in search of food, and soon he came to a huge castle. He crossed the huge drawbridge and entered the huge gate. Everything inside the castle was huge, too.
My, this room is big enough for a...
Giant? This is the castle of the giant of Fum. Or is it Fee? He's a mean, evil giant with a nasty disposition, and he stole from your father, let's see, 1 hen, golden egg type, 2 bags of gold, 14 carat, 1 harp, singing variety. You must return them to your mother, who was the rightful owner. But remember, the giant has a keen sense of smell. If he smells a stranger, he will say, Fe-Fi-Fo-Fum. And then you must run for your life, because that means he's discovered you.
But how do you know all this?
Because I am your fairy godmouse.
Just then there was a terrible thumping noise like huge flat footsteps. Jack hid behind the door just as the giant entered. He was huge.
Wife, bring me my hen.
And while Jack watched in amazement, the hen laid an egg made of solid gold.
Wait a minute. Fe-Fi-Fo-Fum. I smell... No, that's not right. Fe-Fi-Fo-Fum. That's it. Fum. Fe-Fi-Fo-Fum. But now I don't smell anything.
So Jack returned the hen to his mother, and she seemed so delighted that the next day Jack returned to the castle.
Wife, bring me my bag of gold.
It was more gold than Jack knew there was in the world.
Wait a minute. Fi-Fo-Fum, fee.
No, dear, it's Fe-Fi-Fo-Fum.
That's what I said. Fe-Fi-Fum-Fo.
Fum, stupid! Fe-Fi-Fo-Fum!
And as the giant and his wife argued, Jack slipped out of the door and was gone. He gave the gold to his mother. She seemed so delighted that the next day he was back in his hiding place.
Wife, bring me my singing harp. One, two.
Oh, when the saints go marching in, when the saints go marching in.
Wait a minute. Fe-Fi-Fo.
Fum! And for goodness sakes, hurry, I'm being stolen.
Ooh, I'll give you such a fum.
Oh, when the saints go marching in, when the saints go marching in. How I want to be in the number when the saints go marching in.
You know, Jack didn't really have to chop down the beanstalk. For you see, the giant was so afraid of heights that when he looked over the edge, he was so frightened that from that day on, never again was heard a fum or even a feeble fee. Only foop or tweet. And Jack changed too, for he had learned that there was as much fun in giving as in receiving, and so everybody lived happily ever after, Jack and his mother and the cow.
And the fairy godmouse.
Once upon a time, in the little town of Daniels on the Rocks, there lived a beauty and a beast.
Oh, I'm not really a beast. Actually, I'm a prince. But I'm all fussed up like this because of witchcraft.
Please. But ugly as he was, he could once again become handsome just by being kissed by a beauty.
Kissed? Oh, so that's the bit. Just get kissed by a... Man, it's not as easy as it sounds.
That was probably the wrong girl anyway. And so the beast set out to find the beauty whose love would break his magic spell.
How do you do, miss? I'm not really a beast, but a prince. The victim of...
You're no prince.
And you're no beauty either. Boy, that's what I really needed. Hello, you gorgeous thing. I'm not really a beast, but a prince. The victim of... witchcraft. Listen to me. This is a true story. I'm a handsome prince.
Well, an inventive beast knows when to change tactics, and this particular beast knew that it was the smart thing to present his case before presenting his face.
Call me a beast, will you?
Next, the beast posed as an old friend of the family.
Ho, 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 ho! How about a big kiss for Santy?
Well, obviously it was time to look for another approach.
A kissing booth at a fair, for instance. There, the beast would simply buy a kiss for himself, and it just might be the kiss. Then again, it might not.
Maybe I should quit when I'm ahead. If you can call this being ahead.
Well, if one can't even buy a kiss, one is forced into devious measures. Something subtle, sophisticated, something ingenious, yet inobvious. Fortunately for the beast, there was a wedding taking place in a nearby garden. A natural. The beast simply had to stand in line with the other guests and kiss the bride.
This is it. I feel more handsome already. I would like to say a few words about... Stop that dancing up there. Another day, another ugly.
But wait, what is this? A fair... Once upon a time, there was a little tailor, a very little tailor.
To be exact, 4'2", eyes of blue.
Oh, how he wished he were a taller tailor.
Yeah, about 9 feet tall.
The reason was that being so small, he was constantly being picked on. When he ate his lunch, even the flies ganged up on him, 7 at once.
Stop that buzzing! I can't even hear myself eat.
But the flies kept on buzzing until the little tailor could stand it no more, and... Of course, that was the end of his lunch, but the buzzing had stopped.
Listen, it's quiet. I got him! 7 with 1 blow! Not bad for a shrimp.
The little tailor was so proud of himself that he immediately made a shirt which proclaimed his great deed and set out to tell the world all about it, even though, strictly speaking, it wasn't true at all.
Town's gonna know, world's gonna know about 7 late hour 1 blow. 2 and 2 plus 1 add 2. Town's gonna know, world's gonna know about 7 late hour 1 blow.
The little tailor left the town to boast to the whole world of his achievement. Along the way, he discovered a bird caught in a bush. He freed the little bird.
I killed 7 with 1 blow. Yeah!
And put it in his pocket. Before very long, he came to a wood, and seated on a tree stump was a giant. He was as big as the tailor was small.
Too tall or not too tall, that is the question.
Excuse me.
A chance to shrink? Aye, there's the rub.
Excuse me, Bard.
What do you want?
Take a look at that.
You killed 7 with 1 blow? You're such a little fellow. But then I'm so tall. Perhaps you did. Would you believe I was a 3-pound baby?
Listen, I killed 7 at 1 blow, and you better believe it.
What?
Put me down!
All right. Let's see just how strong you are.
The giant picked up a stone and threw it so high that it almost went out of sight.
Top that! I might be slightly overgrown, but I'm a throwing fool.
Well thrown, but it did come back to earth.
That it did.
I'll throw one, it'll never come back.
And the tailor, thinking fast, took the bird out of his pocket and let it fly, so to speak. And quick as a wink, it flew straight up and out of sight.
Oh, that is good. That is very good. You are truly gifted with a golden arm. Let us be friends.
And so they became fast friends.
You know, I have a feeling, Giant.
My name is Ralph.
Well, I have a feeling, Ralph, that we're going to come to an enchanted castle. And in this castle lives a beautiful princess who will become my bride after I perform 3 tasks.
Little tailor, you are out of your mind.
But just then an enchanted castle did appear.
Oh, dear me.
You there in the T-shirt. Stay where you are. I have a task to pick with you. My goodness. Not only have you killed 7, but you've captured 1 alive.
Well, he didn't. I mean, I'm not...
Shh. Don't be rude, Ralph.
For taming this creature...
Creature?
You shall indeed marry my daughter, after you have performed one task.
See, you were wrong. You said 3 tasks.
Well, it usually is 3 tasks, but since no one has ever come back from the first one, I've forgotten the other 2.
Well, didn't they have something to do...
Ralph! What is the one task you want performed, Your Majesty?
In the wood lives a unicorn. You must capture it.
So the little tailor and Ralph set out for the wood. They proceeded very quietly.
There it is! The unicorn! This way, this way!
That way! Head it off!
I got it!
That's me you got! There it goes!
So eventually it was Ralph and not the tailor who caught the unicorn. And do you know what? It wasn't a unicorn at all, but the king's daughter, and the most beautiful princess you ever saw. She was, however, a little tall for the tailor.
Would you believe I was a 3-pound baby?
And so Ralph and the princess were married and lived happily ever after. Oh, and what happened to the little tailor? Well, he stopped his boasting, he went back to his town and became a very good tailor indeed. Then one day, he met a lovely girl who was also 4 feet 2.
Would you believe I was a 16-pound baby?
And the little tailor married her and was perfectly happy and content. The motto is, you don't have to be 9 feet tall to feel 9 feet tall. Once upon a time, there was a miller's daughter named Gladys who would spin straw all day long and sit up nights thinking of how she would like to be famous. Night after night, she would think of all the things she wanted to be. But as for figuring out a way to be them, Gladys was at a loss.
Oh, to be famous.
Just then, a strange little man appeared before her.
Little lady, I can make you famous overnight.
Who are you?
I am what is known as a PR man.
PR man?
Public relations, my dear. Public relations. It is my business to glamorize the unglamorous. In my hands, the pedestrian becomes splendorous, the prosaic resplendent. What do you do, baby?
Oh, I spin straw.
That's it. You spin straw.
So?
Don't interrupt. It's coming.
What?
The idea, the spark. I got it. You spin straw into gold.
Yeah, but I can't spin
Doesn't
straw.
matter. I'll do the thinking. Now I'll just contact the trades.
But wait.
Just leave it to me, please.
And so it happened that overnight Gladys did become famous. Of course, nobody had ever seen the gold, but through the PR man's magic, and since it had appeared in all the papers, the people believed it. All of them, everyone. Even the king.
Gold out of straw? Bring that girl here!
And so Gladys appeared before the king.
I understand you spin.
Not only do I spin, but I am the best spinner in your entire kingdom. I am so good.
That you spin straw into gold, right? Well, I'm going to put you into a room full of my very best straw and have gold.
But...
Of course, if you can't, you'll be locked forever in my darkest dungeon.
Oh.
Not so fast, king boy. Release that girl. My client is not giving gold away, you know. However, she will spin for you 1 room full of gold on one condition. That if she does, she automatically becomes your wife and therefore the queen.
Well... give me the pen already. I'll sign.
Gladys signed too. And the king left her to her task.
Well, now what?
Have I ever let you down, baby? Watch.
And true to his word, the little man spun a room full of gold.
Why, that's amazing.
I know. Now look, dear, our business ends right here. You are now rich and famous, so until your firstborn comes into the world, I bid you adieu.
My firstborn?
Just read the contract, my dear, the fine print right there.
So, Gladys read the fine print, and there it said in black and white that her firstborn child must go to the little man. Well, about a year afterwards, a beautiful child was born to the king and queen.
Hello again. I have come for the child according to the contract.
What the little man didn't know was that in reading the fine print, Gladys had found the loophole.
I have found the loophole.
Oh, no, not the loophole.
Yes, quote, if the party of the first part, that's me, within 3 days discovers the name of the party of the second part, that's you, the party of the first part shall keep the party of the third part, that's him.
But that may not be as easy as you think. Go ahead, lay a name on me.
So Gladys laid a name on him.
Tom,
It was the wrong one.
Harry, Alfred, Dick, Bill, Lowry, Sam.
She spent all that day thinking of all the names she could, but none of them were right.
Oscar.
No.
Edward, Roger, Leon, Charlie, Theodore.
And the second day went as did the first, and as it ended...
Louis.
Like,
Gladys was in despair.
Oh.
Just then there was a knock.
Come in.
And the door swung open to reveal a very round man dressed as a town crier.
Like, you don't know me, ma'am, but I've got to hip you to some news. Like the other day, I'm walking through this cool forest when, ma'am, what do I see but this little cat doing this Weirdsville routine? Like he's going...
Skoo-skoo-ba-doo, oobop-she-bam. I am the Rumpelstiltskin man. The king's got his gold, the queen's got her fame, and their baby will have my Rumpelstiltskin name.
Now, isn't that just too coo-coo?
Yeah, coo-coo.
So the next day, when the little man appeared again, the queen said,
Skoo-skoo-ba-doo, oobop-she-bam. You are the Rumpelstiltskin man, right?
Right. Oh, man, I really goofed.
And so Gladys and the king lived happily ever after, and Rumpelstiltskin was never seen in the kingdom again. There were several reports concerning a young girl who could make diamonds out of turnips. But, of course, that was in another kingdom, and you can't believe everything you read in the papers. Once upon a time, there was a family of 3 sisters. The elder sister, Prunelda, was remarkably ugly. You might think that she was the ugliest woman you'd ever seen until you saw the second sister, Grimessa, who looked even worse. With 2 such hags in the family, it was surprising that the third sister, sweet little Beet, was very pretty indeed. And how do you think that made her sisters feel?
Terrible!
And what do you think they did?
We treat you something awful, of course.
As a matter of fact, sweet little Beet was so used to ill treatment that she took no notice of it.
Prunelda, you'll just ruin that poker. Fun, Grimessa, but this isn't getting the floor mopped.
When the 2 sisters tired of thumping on little Beet, they played ball with her.
Okay, put her over.
Please, girls, I have to polish the silver.
Then, one day, as Grimessa was preparing another unpleasant surprise for little Beet, Prunelda burst in with exciting news. His Highness, Prince Fascinato, was searching for a bride to share his kingdom and his castle, where he now lived alone, attended only by his Prime Minister. The Prime Minister's job was to serve the prince in every way. This was difficult because the Prince Fascinato was invisible. No one could see him. If he picked up a bowl, you could see the bowl move. If he ate, you could see the food disappear, but you could not see where to. One day, the prince had said to his Prime Minister,
You know, Winnie, I should be married.
Yes, Your Majesty.
I'm not on the throne, Winnie. I'm over here.
Oh, yes, Your Majesty.
There must be a girl somewhere who can see me. You line up all the eligible ladies, and we'll see if any of them can make the grade.
So the Prime Minister had sent out word of the contest, and soon all the girls in the kingdom were in front of the castle waiting to see the invisible prince. Vendors were doing a brisk business in tip sheets and clues to what he looked like. Crystal balls were at a premium, and right at the head of the line were Prunelda and Grimessa.
First girl.
I see you.
His Highness isn't here yet.
Oh.
The rules are as follows. You must first tell what the prince is wearing on his shoulder.
Yeah.
Second, you must tell what his bowstring is made of.
Bowstring like in bow and arrow?
Correct. And remember, in case of a tie, duplicate princes will not be awarded.
If I guess those two things will marry even me?
Even, you.
I could use that kind of a break.
And the Prime Minister pulled aside a curtain at one end of the room.
I see you, sweetheart. Let's get hitched.
One moment. What does His Highness wear on his shoulder?
A gold oak leaf cluster and a tattoo that says, "Remember the Maine."
Wrong. Now, what is his bowstring made of?
Catgut.
Next.
The next contestant was Granessa.
Yoo-hoo, honey. I see you.
Not me, madam. Him. What is on the prince's shoulder?
Two kumquats and a bald eagle with a flag in his mouth.
Next.
All day long, the girls of the kingdom tried to see the prince. Nobody succeeded. When the two ugly sisters returned home, they were very sad, of course. But when sweet little Beet announced that she was going to try...
What's so funny?
Prince marry a beat-up little peanut like you?
You're crazy.
Not crazy enough to stay in this house anymore.
You mean you're mad because we treat you so mean?
No, I just can't stand all that ugly anymore.
Ugly?
You know she's right.
So, sweet little Beet went to the palace and straight up to the throne.
Hey, you, where's the invisible prince?
You can see him?
Sure, I see him, but where's Prince Fascinato?
Oh, what's he wearing on his shoulder?
A rainbow.
Is that it?
It's close enough.
And what is his bowstring made of?
Is that his bowstring? Looks more like the Milky Way.
Your Majesty?
It's true. Oh, fair maiden, you're the one for me.
You're the prince?
Yes. Let us be wed. You will be my princess, live in my castle.
Yes, sweet little Beet was the only girl who could see Prince Fascinato. Her sisters who had followed her were amazed.
You see him?
Well, sure. Now, come on, let's go home.
But aren't you going to stay here and marry the prince?
Stay here? You forget. I've seen him. Believe me, he's uglier than you are.
You know she's right.
So the three sisters went home together and lived happily ever after, which of course points to a moral.
Yes. Be it ever so painful, there's no place like home.
There was once an old fisherman who, in over 40 years of fishing, never caught a fish. Because of this, he was forced to live, with his wife, in a miserable little hovel close by the sea. But though they were very, very poor, he was very, very happy. But being so very, very poor made his wife very, very unhappy.
No money, no food, no nothing. Just a kooky husband.
Then, one day, as the fisherman sat mending his nets...
Oh, alas, poor husband, you must surely be addle-headed.
Why do you say that?
Why else would you be so happy when we're so poor?
Yeah, it does seem kind of silly, doesn't it? But you just wait. Someday I'm going to catch a fish, and then things will be different.
The old fisherman didn't know it then, but things were to be very different very soon. For the next day, when he hauled in his net...
Wow, I finally did it. I caught a fish. I caught a fish.
Yes, it was a fine, big fish. And a most unusual fish, to say the least, for it spoke to him.
How do you do?
Oh, hello there. You know, you're the very first fish I ever... What'd you say?
I said, how do you do?
Oh, come on. You can't say that.
Why not?
Well, because fish can't talk. That's why.
But I can, and I'm asking you, please, let me go.
The fish pleaded so hard, and the fisherman was so shocked at hearing the fish talk that he did let him go. Then that evening, when he returned to his hovel...
Catch any fish?
Yeah, nice big fat one, but I let him go.
let him go. Why?
He asked me to.
Oh, well, as long as he... What? The fish asked you to let him go?
Yeah.
Certain now that her poor husband was more addle-headed than ever, the wife wrapped hot towels around the fisherman's head and gave him a bitter medicine that was guaranteed to clear even the most clouded mind.
Oh, a talking fish indeed.
Look, he did talk to me, and I can prove it.
Early the next morning, the fisherman returned to the spot where he had caught the fish and called out loudly,
"Talking fishy in the sea, please come up and talk to me."
With that, the big fish returned to the surface and said,
"You called?"
"Yeah, my wife thinks I'm addle-headed because I heard you talk. Please come home with me so I can prove you do."
"Very well. You did me a favor, so I shall return it. Let's go."
The fisherman quickly took the fish back to his hovel, but his wife was nowhere to be seen. So he put the fish into their bed to keep him warm and set off in search of her. A short time later, the wife, who had been out collecting seashells by the seashore, returned, and seeing what she thought to be her husband in the bed...
"Lazy lout, what are you doing in bed? You should be out fishing."
"I beg your pardon, madam, but I am not your husband. I am really..."
"A talking fish."
"That is correct, madam."
Eek!
The poor woman's hair stood on end. Then, 2 hours later, when the fisherman finally coaxed his wife down off of the roof...
"Ah, now you see, dear, the fish did talk."
Okay, but get him out of here."
Ah, but the fish, who, of course, had never been in a soft, warm bed before, liked it so much that he said...
"Oh, please don't throw me back into that cold, old ocean. Let me stay."
"No, I refuse to have a talking fish in my bed."
"Oh, let me stay. I will grant you 3 wishes.
"Oh, boy, 3 wishes. Hey, that could make us rich."
The wife was delighted at the prospect of being rich and agreed to let the fish stay. Then they set about the task of making their first wish.
Now, a talking fish is something you don't see every day. So, why don't we wish for a big theater so we can make people pay to hear him?"
"So be it, number 1.
The wish was granted, and they suddenly found themselves owners of the largest theater in the village.
Now what?
That's easy. Now we've got to wish for lots of tickets to sell.
"So be it. Number 2.
The wish was granted, and they now had thousands of tickets. Everyone in the country wanted to hear the talking fish, so in no time at all, every ticket was sold.
Oh, boy, look at the money. Oh, we're rich at last. We still have another wish coming, so let's use it.
For what?
Who cares? Anything.
No, we better save it.
He's right. After all, it is your last wish.
Now, you stay out of this. Let's use it.
Save it.
But I think
Use it.
Save it.
Use it. Oh, I wish you'd shut up.
"So be it. Number 3.
Oops, I goofed.
The third and last wish was granted, and the fish was never to speak again. Of course, the audience demanded their money back, and the fisherman and his wife were run out of town as frauds. Poor, once again, they returned to their hovel, where several days later, a strange thing happened. For a small cat wearing boots approached them, and,
Howdy!
That cat! It talked!
Right. You see, I'm...
But before the little cat in the boots could continue, the fisherman and his wife tied a gag around his mouth, and he could not say another word. Which is just as well, dear friends, for Puss in Boots is another story. This is the story of Dick Whittington, who lived a long, long time ago in a country called England. Dick was very, very poor. He lived in the village of Puss-in-Full-of-Squares, and the townspeople had 2 pastimes, laughing at Dick and singing of London.
Oh, London town is made of gold, made of gold, made of gold. London town is made of gold, my fair lady.
The townspeople chanted this ditty constantly, day in and day out. Taking everything into consideration, they were quite foolish people. So one day, Dick, feeling quite cheeky, said,
"You are quite foolish people."
And left for London town to tip loose a few cobblestones of gold so that he might have the last laugh on the people of Puss-in-Full-of-Squares.
What are you doing?
I am loosening a cobblestone of gold.
Cobblestones of gold?
This is London, isn't it?
Yeah?
Then this is a cobblestone of gold.
Well, if this is London town, as you say, then most certainly that is a cobblestone of gold. However, if it does happen to be an ordinary cobblestone, here is my card.
Dick rushed off with the cobblestones he had pried loose, but found that he could purchase neither food nor drink with them.
Perhaps now I can be of assistance. My card.
When I start taking advice from a cat, I knew they were rocks anyway.
Here now! Vandals, robbers! Thank you, young man. It's getting so you can't walk down the street at night anymore. But come along. You must have dinner with me.
In the course of the evening, Dick was offered a job in Mr. Fitzwarren's household. It didn't pay much, but it was better than shipping up rocks. So, Dick took the job of errand boy.
Hello, my name is Miss Alice.
Oh, Dick decided that he'd be very happy in Mr. Fitzwarren's household, and he would too, except for one thing. Mr. Fitzwarren was sailing for another kingdom on an extremely important mission. Everyone in the household was giving Mr. Fitzwarren a going-away gift. Alas, poor Dick, he had nothing to give him, and he wanted to make a good impression on Miss Alice.
Well, show me the gift, cat.
You're looking at it. Mainly me.
So a good impression was made on both Mr. Fitzwarren and Miss Alice. The Queen of the kingdom to which Mr. Fitzwarren was hurrying had named their kingdom London too, and upon finding out that there already was a London, the Queen became very unhappy. Upon seeing the Queen unhappy, the Prime Minister became unhappy, and then the Parliament. And when the Parliament becomes very unhappy, everybody becomes very unhappy, and eventually everybody looked like the unhappy Queen, even the King. To solve this crisis was Mr. Fitzwarren's mission, which became even more of a crisis when he found his face changing too. The Queen was fit to be tied.
It's all your fault. If you hadn't named that city of yours London, this never would have happened. Now we can't call our kingdom our own or our faces.
Not so fast. All is not lost. My card.
But I don't want a face. I have a face.
But just look at this face.
It's a beautiful face, but it's not my face.
That face is a happy face. Your face is a sad face. You're unhappy because you cannot name your kingdom London. When you are happy, the happy face will be yours.
But what can I do? I so love the name London.
And you shall have the name Nodnole, which is London spelt backwards.
And so the name was changed to Nodnole, and the Nodnolians regained their happy faces, and the Queen became the most beautiful woman in the kingdom.
We are indebted to you and your cat. 4 ships filled with gold are yours for helping us.
So Mr. Fitzwarren and the cat said goodbye to the Nodnolians and returned to London town and gave Dick the money.
Right on my foot!
For Mr. Fitzwarren knew that the money would be in the family anyway, for the next day Dick married Miss Alice and called her Miss Alice from that day forward, and she called him Mr. Whittington, which all their friends found a little stuffy, but with all that money, who cared? The following spring, Dick became Lord Mayor of London, and so had the last laugh on the village of Poppinfull of Squares. In the village of Poppinfull of Squares, the people never sang their song of London town.
Well, Governor, you'd hardly expect us to sing London town is full of rocks.
And never again did they laugh at Dick Whittington, or anything else for that matter. But the story does have a happy ending, though, for the next year, ice cream was invented, and everyone lived happily ever after. Once upon a time, there was a girl named Cinderella who lived with her 2 sisters. Every night, the 2 sisters would dress up and go into town where they were popular and sought-after scrub women. Night after night, Cinderella would stay home
doing the chores.
It's work, work, work. All the time work.
Then, one day she heard a strange little voice.
Cinderella! Cinderella!
Who left that screen open again?
Hey, watch it, hold it. I'm your fairy godmother.
Oh, boy. All right, change me.
Huh?
Do me over, you know, the gown, jewels, carriage, glass slippers, and like that.
Oh, you mean this model?
Yeah, that's it.
Of course, my dear. Just sign here.
Sign what?
It's our little contract. I'll give you all these things.
I'll sign. There you are.
Fine. There you are. And in return, you sell all this wonderful metal cookware by midnight tonight. Just $39.95 a set.
I gotta sell all these pots and pans?
By midnight. If you want to keep all those goodies. Even we fairy godmothers have to make a living, you know.
But there's only one man in the kingdom rich enough to buy this stuff.
That's right, honey. Prince Fascinato himself.
But Cinderella's fairy godmother didn't know much about royal finance, for the prince was, at that moment, saying to his prime minister,
This balance can't be right, Frobisher. My fortune runs into 6 figures.
Yes, Your Highness, but they're all zeros.
Ah, yeah. But what about the royal sock?
The royal sock is empty, sire. And hark, the creditors are pounding on the castle door.
You mean...
Yes, you have until midnight to raise some money. Lots of money.
But, my dear Frobisher, how?
How else? You must marry a rich heiress.
By midnight?
There's a ball at the castle tonight. Do your best.
So, that night, the prince looked his guests over very carefully.
Uh-oh.
Something, Your Highness?
I think I've got a live one, Frobisher.
And so the prince and Cinderella danced for hours.
You are the loveliest girl in my kingdom. Your eyes, your diamonds...
Those were sure terrible beans we had for dinner.
Beans?
Now, with this skillet, you can cook the waterless way.
Your teeth are like pearls. Your pearls like teeth.
The price includes this oatmeal steamer.
Let us go where we can be alone, darling.
So the prince and Cinderella sought out a moonlit seat in the garden.
Oh, how long I've searched for a girl just like you. Since this afternoon, as a matter of fact.
And I know you're my kind of guy. Real spender.
Psst! Hurry.
What about the creditors?
I can't hold them off past midnight.
Psst. How's it going, dearie?
I'm just about to close the sale.
Tell them about our layaway plan. You've only got an hour left.
So the prince and Cinderella continued to speak of love and saucepans until almost midnight.
Such grace, such beauty, such real cash value. Will you be mine?
There's no vitamin waste, see? And they scour clean in a jiffy.
You've got just 2 minutes.
You have just 2 minutes.
Say yes, my love.
What's $39.95 to a sport like you?
Show him the egg poachers, dearie. Only 70 cents extra.
Give her the bended knee bit. It's almost midnight.
Of course, in such close quarters, the prime minister and the fairy godmother were bound to meet sooner or later.
Your servant, madam.
You're cute, honey. Do you do your own cooking?
Let us seal our love with a kiss.
Just $5 down and pennies a week.
Marry her quick. I've got to pay cash for these pots.
Unfortunately, it was already a little too late. First, Cinderella lost her permanent, then her jewels, then her gown.
My, you heiresses certainly depreciate fast.
Embarrassed, Cinderella ran from the castle, losing one of her slippers as she did so. The prince, of course, was finally cornered by his creditors.
Frobisher!
He's not here, honey, but maybe I can be of some assistance.
So Cinderella returned to her old home and her old job.
Work, work, work. All the time work. Who's there?
How do you do, miss?
I know who you are. You're the prince.
Yes, it was the prince. Real love had triumphed at last. The world became alive to the tempo of romance. The birds and the bees sang out. 1,000 stars fell on the lovely young girl and the handsome prince.
Young lady, I have here...
I know. You have my slipper.
Now, as a matter of fact, it's brushes.
Brushes?
Yes, some old lady has me selling them door to door.
I told you, honey. I've got to make a living somehow.
Once upon a time, there was an easel painter. He was a good painter and made a modest living for his wife and himself. All was well except for one thing. The painter didn't want to be a painter. He wanted to be a shoemaker.
I am drudging my way through life. I want to do something creative.
Such as?
Who are you?
We're elves, obviously. We always considered painting creative.
You call that creative, elves? I'll tell you creative. Making shoes, that's creative. Something for the feet. Something that lives. Something to last throughout eternity. Shoes that sing.
You mean you want to go down in history like Herman Cappuccino?
Herman Cappuccino?
Herman Cappuccino, just the greatest little shoemaker that ever lived.
When Hannibal crossed the Alps, whose shoes do you think he was wearing?
Herman's?
Herman Cappuccino.
Ooh! Tell me, elf, how could I be a famous shoemaker like Herman Cappuccino?
You gotta suffer. You gotta spend time on the left bank in Paris.
Study. Visit the shoe stores.
And all true shoemakers gotta suffer.
And so, that night, the painter told his wife of his plan to become a shoemaker. His wife said,
Shoemakers are not made, they are born. Why don't you forget it and go back to something sensible like painting?
9. Even 10. Anybody can paint. I want to sit in cafes, discuss shoe exhibitions, make shoes in a garret, and above all, suffer.
So the painter left for Paris, leaving his wife to shift for herself. He entered the famous school, the Beaux Chasseurs, and spent months working from models. Then he made 15th century shoes, 16th century shoes, 17th century shoes, 18th century shoes. He made rabbit shoes, snake shoes, and kangaroo shoes. He even made high button shoes, low button shoes, even horseshoes. He made walking shoes, running shoes, sneaky shoes, squeaky shoes, but alas, he made no singing shoes.
If only I could make a shoe that sings of spring, of love. How could I make a shoe with a soul?
You gotta travel. Absorb different countries' culture.
Yeah, suffer.
Not suffer, travel. Get with it, will you?
Yeah, that's it, travel.
So the painter went to Italy, Switzerland, Holland, and he made Italian shoes, Swiss shoes, Dutch shoes. But alas, he made no singing shoes. Then, one night, after he returned to Paris, he heard the most beautiful music. He followed the lovely sound, and there, in a bundle of rags, was a singing shoe.
That is truly a shoe with a soul.
What? I hope to tell you it's got a soul.
I must have that shoe.
Now, wait.
A fine way to act.
I just wanted to know where he bought them.
We could have told you that. He bought them in Elvesville.
Elvesville? Why, that's my hometown. What am I doing suffering around Europe when I could be home learning to make shoes that sing?
So the painter left for the town from whence he had come, Elvesville. He found that everyone in Elvesville was wearing the same exquisite shoes that he had found in the bundle of rags.
Where did you buy those exquisite shoes?
2311 South Budlong. You turn left at the next...
You don't have to tell me. That's my house.
And sure enough, when the painter got home, he found the walls of his cottage lined with exquisite shoes, all singing merrily away. And who did he find sitting behind the cobbler's bench but his wife?
Why didn't you tell me you made exquisite singing shoes?
You never asked me.
So, from that day on, the painter went back to his easel. Eventually, it happened that his paintings started selling like hotcakes, and he became a very famous painter indeed, and his paintings hung in all the famous museums in Europe. But he never did become a shoemaker, and he had to be content with just being a very wealthy man.
Which just goes to prove everybody can't be a Herman Cappuccino.
Yeah. Whatever that means.
time, there was a thumb. This thumb belonged to a man who lived in the kingdom of King Arthur. It was the most magnificent thumb in the land. People would come from miles around just to admire it.
Thumb.
But it wasn't always this way.
I'll tell the story, if you please. There was a time when the man didn't have such a beautiful thumb. In fact, he had thumbs just like anyone else, one right-handed, one left-handed. And because there was nothing unusual about his thumbs, he spent his time working very hard as a plowman. Then, one day, the plowman's wife made a wish.
I should be the happiest creature in the world if I had a son. Although he were no bigger than my husband's thumb, I would be satisfied.
Well, it so happened that Merlin, the famous magician, was just outside her window. He heard her statement and was so amused by the prospect of a boy no bigger than a man's thumb that he granted the woman's wish. Well, it might have been funny to Merlin, but the plowman was not at all amused.
Just another mouth to feed.
Oh, he won't eat much, and who knows, he may grow up to be 6'4".
But it so happened that Tom Thumb, which is what they named him, ate more than the plowman and his wife put together. But grow up, he did not. At the age of 16, he was still no bigger than his father's thumb. Tom's mother loved him, of course, but she would thoughtlessly display him around town as though he were a pet bird. It was about this time that Tom made friends with a butterfly.
If he does that again, I'm going to buy a fly swatter.
Fly swatter? They'll never get you with any old fly swatter. It's time we split, man. Cut out to the big city.
So Tom did cut out to the big city and formed the Big Thumb Gang with himself as leader.
It's Big Thumb.
He had channeled his butterfly, added dual carburetors, and put in oversized valves. He had the hottest hopped-up butterfly in the kingdom.
Okay, now there's our first caper. The candy store on Elm Street.
But as the gang studied the plans outside their hideout...
You've got the butterfly net?
Yep.
Well, be prepared to use it. They don't call me Inspector Snoot for nothing. I've sniffed around. I can smell a candy store heist in the making.
All right, men, let's go.
But Tom and his gang no sooner started out than they were trapped by Inspector Snoot, and Tom ended up back in the birdcage. However, news of his plan reached the newspapers.
Snoot nets Big Thumb! Juvenile delinquency gains in kingdom!
And I say to you that if nothing is done about this juvenile delinquency, I demand that King Arthur himself be investigated.
It's the king's fault.
The king's fault.
The king's fault?
The king's fault.
I don't know why we have to have a king like that. I don't know how I can fault right. The king's own.
Merlin, come here.
It's the king's fault. The king's fault.
Will you stop over there? We've got to get to the bottom of this thing. We've got to find out why the lad became delinquent. You talk to him.
Now then, my boy, just when did you start to go wrong?
Well, when I was 12 years old, I had a feeling there was something different about me. I was 12 years old and only 3 inches high. I longed to be big, big, big. So when I met my only friend, I escaped to become the biggest man in the kingdom, Big Thumb. And I am big, too.
I've created a monster.
So Merlin confessed to King Arthur.
So you see, sire, I'm responsible for the lad's behavior.
Well, fix him back to normal size, Merlin.
But I can't break my own spell.
Spell smell. You get him out of it or else.
Merlin thought and thought, but could come to no answer until one day it struck him.
If the spell says he has to be as big as his father's thumb, why not?
So, the next day in the plowman's house...
There seems to be something happening to my thumb.
Sure enough, Merlin had cast a spell on the plowman's thumb, and as it grew, so did Tom, until he was a normal-sized boy. Tom never again thought of crime. The king made him keeper of the royal butterflies, and Tom's father never again touched a plow, for his thumb became so famous that the king made him a national monument. And Tom's mother? Why, she bought a bird for her bird cage. And so they were all deliriously happy ever after. upon a time, in the little kingdom of Levittown-on-Thames, there lived a man named Galahad, Harry Galahad, the world's most famous clown.
Retired.
With him lived his wife Bessie and their newborn son. One day, Harry took the infant to be registered with the town clerk.
Have you chosen a name for this child?
Yes, sir.
Sir. Very well.
And before Harry could stop him, the town clerk had written the baby's name in the town register, Sir Galahad.
But that's not his name.
Sorry. No changes allowed in the town register.
What kind of a name is Sir? Everybody will laugh at him.
What were you going to call him?
Arbuthnot.
And so, from that day on, the baby was known as Sir Galahad. Sir's future had already been decided for him by his father.
You're going to be a clown, just like Daddy.
When he was just a toddler, it was drummed into him.
A clown, you're going to be a clown. That's showbiz.
And later, when he would come home from school...
Sir, go to your room, do your clown work.
But though Sir's father tried to develop the boy's interest in clownery, Sir just didn't seem to have his heart in it. For you see, he really wanted to be a knight. Each evening when he went to bed, Sir would dream of being a knight. Or at least he tried to dream of being a knight, but somehow he always wound up as a... you know what. One day, his mother took him on her knee.
Sir, honey, don't you want to follow in Daddy's footsteps? After all, he's a great clown.
You can say that again.
Well, what do you want to be?
Sir was quick to announce his secret ambition.
Knights of the Round Table. You want to be a round table?
A knight. I want to be a knight.
What?
Sure. Knights get to wear armor, Pop. Ride white chargers. Save lovely damsels from dragons.
Wait a minute. You want to ride a charger?
Uh-huh.
Save damsels?
Uh-huh.
But I used to do that 3 times a day in the circus. See, that's showbiz. I'd climb the ladder, they'd throw the water on me. Where'd he go?
Away.
Oh, Bessie, where have we gone wrong?
But that night, something wonderful happened to Sir. As usual, he tried to dream of being a knight, and this time, he made it.
I'm a knight. A knight in shining armor. What ho there, looky!
That's lackey.
Oh. Well, anyway, fetch my white charger.
Okay, Prince Valiant.
That's a white charger?
You're a little late at the post. Sir Shoemaker got the last good mount.
And so, Sir Galahad mounted his steed and set off for adventure. He soon found that riding in shining armor was a little harder than it looked. Still, he sought high and low for a damsel in distress, till suddenly...
Help! It's her! My damsel!
As one, horse and rider, flew to the rescue.
I hope it's nothing trivial.
Trivial indeed. Just over the hill was a damsel in absolutely the worst kind of distress.
Never fear! Sir Galahad's here!
Well, Sir Galahad set to work to slay the dragon, and this, too, turned out to be very hard work. Matter of fact, it was just like chopping down a very large tree with a very small axe. But finally, the job was done, and the maiden gazed lovingly at her conquering hero.
You've probably guessed that I'm a princess.
I sort of had a hunch.
And, as you'd expect, when Sir took the princess home, her father, the king, was so impressed that he gave Sir his daughter's hand in marriage.
Well, now that you're one of us, take off your hat to the house.
Yes, Sir had been a hero, but now he was just a relative. The king gave Sir and his bride a down payment on a small place of their own, and before long there was another little knight to feed, and another, and so on into the nights. Sir's days were taken up with his new duties as lord of the manor, for there were no wars to fight, and his wife frowned on his rescuing any more damsels.
When you finish the dishes, remember the moat needs cleaning.
I should have married the dragon.
Then, 20 years later, much to Sir's delight, another war broke out. His armor didn't fit as well as it might, but still he had to defend the kingdom from threatening invaders. Alone, he sallied forth against overwhelming odds, and because he had fought so bravely, he received a hero's welcome, with full military honors. With a start, Sir woke from his dream.
That's a hero's welcome?
The next morning, Sir's parents were still deeply troubled.
Harry, if being a knight is so important to him...
You're right, Mama. A knight he's gonna be. And with our blessing, we'll send him to...
Be a clown, da-da-dum, da-da-dee. Look, one hand, ha-ha-ha-ha!
But, sir, yesterday you wanted to be a knight.
And today you're a clown.
Well, like you always say, that's showbiz.
Once upon a time, there was a beautiful but wicked queen. This queen would stand before her mirror for hours admiring herself. It was a very special kind of mirror.
Mirror, mirror, coin machine, am I still the cutest queen?
You're still the best, but wise up fast. Snow White will soon go whizzing past.
Snow White? Where can I find her?
With dwarfs she dwells, those sawed-off mugs. And by the way, stop using slugs.
And the queen got a poison apple to take to Snow White. An apple that would make her the victim of sleeping death. In a little while, the queen was approaching the quaint old house of the 7 dwarfs. It wasn't very difficult to find. Inside the house, a plan was taking shape.
That's it, boys. Look sharp. This could be a gold mine, a veritable... Well, welcome to the 7 Dwarfs Health Club. Looks like you got it just in time. Build it up, take it off, make it firm. That's what I always say. A sign here for the lifetime membership. Will you do that?
Wait a minute. Where's Snow White? I've got a little something for her. Soon as she eats it, I'll be the fairest in the land.
Dear lady, did you know that you could be the fairest in the land forever?
Forever? How?
The 7 Dwarfs Health Club, of course.
7 dwarfs? I see only 6. You sure I could stay the fairest?
Come on now. Would I kid a queen?
The vain queen was so desperate to stay the fairest that she signed the contract and gave her crown as payment. Then, one day, several weeks later...
Mirror, mirror, put me straight. Snow White or me? Now who's first rate?
Good kid you are and rather sweet. But Snow White's the one. She's got you beat.
So, once again, the queen got a poison apple and went to the 7 dwarfs' house to find Snow White. But this time, the dwarfs had a brand new enterprise.
Welcome to the 7 Dwarfs Dance Studio. Walk in, samba out.
Never mind that. Is Snow White here?
And 1, 2, 3, and 1, 2, 3.
Cut that out! Where's Snow White?
Never heard of her. Put a little fun in your life. Try dancing.
Who's this big guy? I thought you were all dwarfs.
Please, lady. Shh, quiet. He's got grand trouble. It's nothing to laugh at. Now, this is for a lifetime membership to the dance club.
Sure enough, this time the queen traded all her jewels to the dwarfs. And some weeks later...
Mirror, mirror, 1, 2, 3, is there one as fair as me?
Fair at what? Not dancing, pray. Snow White now leads in every way.
The queen was clearly slipping fast.
All right. Where's Snow White?
Will you look at that posture?
That hair. And my dear, those clothes.
No good.
If you want to be the fairest in the land, you'll need a lifetime membership. The 7 Dwarfs Charm School.
Fairest in the land, eh? How much?
At this time, the queen gave the deed to her castle to the dwarfs. So when she returned home, it was to an empty lot.
Mirror, mirror on...
I know. Snow White at the dwarf's place, in that order.
Listen, wiseacre. Snow White isn't at the dwarf's place where you keep sending me.
With dwarfs she dwells and...
All right, I'll show you. See, no Snow White here, just dwarfs.
Oh, will you look at that poor woman?
A B1 deficiency.
Now, how could you ever hope to be the fairest with improper diet?
Improper diet?
No, not meats.
No yogurt. No wheat germ.
But I have nothing left to pay for anything.
You need the 7 Dwarfs Health Food Plan. You what?
Just this mirror. That's all I have left.
That's all? Okay, we'll take it. Here. And your health food plan starts with eating these apples.
So the wicked queen wound up with nothing but her own poison apples. But suddenly...
Pardon me. Do you have a pay mirror I can use?
Right over there. Is it a local?
Mirror, mirror on the wall, who is the fairest of them all?
Snow White is the fairest one, but getting there is half the fun.
Oh, goody, goody, goody. That's me. I'm Snow White.
No, there really is a Snow White. Get ready, boys. Another pigeon. And if you want to stay the fairest, you'll need a lifetime membership in the Seven Dwarfs Health Club.
7 dwarfs? I see only 6. Isn't there a 7th one?
Well, certainly there is. Meet Max. He has the most important job in our whole operation.
Yeah. And boy, it's stuffy in there.
You all remember the story of Sleeping Beauty? How as a baby she was put under a spell by a wicked fairy, how when she had grown up she pricked her finger with a needle and fell into a deep sleep from which she could be wakened only by a kiss. You remember, too, how a fence of thorns grew round the castle to prevent anybody from entering.
Anybody but me, that is.
And just who are you?
A prince, naturally. Don't you see the robes, the crown? You want to see my ID card?
Well, how do you propose to enter the castle?
Easy. I haul out my trusty broadsword and... They don't make broadswords like they used to.
The prince was distraught. What was he to do?
I'll show you. These they make like they used to.
The prince made straight for the tower room.
Sleeping Beauty! I've come at last. With one kiss, I shall waken you and... Wait a minute. Awake, she's just another princess. Asleep, she's a gold mine. I can see it now. Sleeping Beauty comics, Sleeping Beauty hats, Sleeping Beauty bubble gum, and biggest of all, Sleeping Beauty Land.
Sure enough, the castle was soon made ready as a great tourist attraction. There was Moat Land.
Have your X coupons ready, please. Have your X coupons ready.
There was Entrance Hall Land.
Y coupons, please.
There was Stair Land.
That's a Z coupon, folks. A Z coupon.
And, of course, Sleeping Beauty herself. Sleeping Beauty Land was clearly a great success.
1,000,001, 1,000,002. Sorry, the castle's closed till 8 a.m.
Hold it, Junior. I'm Yolanda, the wicked fairy that put Sleeping Beauty to sleep.
Well, that calls for some free coupon books.
Books? Look, I want half of this whole setup, or else.
Else what?
Else I use my magic powers to wake her up.
Well, now, we can't have that, can we, partner? And you are my partner, and a charming one at that. Now, wouldn't you like to see some of our Sleeping Beauty Land?
Why not?
Just step this way to Dungeon Land.
My, this is spooky.
Well, it's very popular. Some people stay here for a long, long time.
How does it work?
Well, I put these around your wrist, you see?
Yes?
Then I leave. Well, have a good time. I'll see you in a couple of years, kid.
So, once again, the prince was in business for himself.
1,064,000, 1,065,000.
Hiya, honey.
You're back. You broke the chains.
Yeah, they don't make them like they used to.
Well, partner, how about trying our special submarine ride?
Keen.
The cement is just a safety precaution. The city makes us do it.
I like the way it squishes between my toes.
It's quick drying, too. There. Not squishy now, is it?
If I like this one, can I go again?
I'm afraid not. It's more of a one-way ride.
So the prince was once more without a partner.
4,002,000, 4,003,000.
Hello, I'm back. That ride was more fun, especially that first part.
But...
Imagine half of all this is mine.
Yes, including the souvenir sales.
Souvenirs? How much do they sell for?
Well, this one is 75 cents. This one is $1. This Sleeping Beauty cowboy lasso is only $1.69. Now, let's see. Carry the 4 and... Say, you're in luck, little lady.
I am?
You betcha. You also get the official Sleeping Beauty Land moon rocket as a bonus gift.
Goody. I've always wanted...
And the clever prince had apparently solved his problem. But soon he had another one. For the next morning, the crowds outside the castle were smaller, and the next day, smaller still. Clearly, Sleeping Beauty was a slipping beauty, and the prince was very sad indeed. Then, suddenly...
Hi, sweetie, I'm back, and was that ever a ride?
Well, you can have the whole thing back now, Toots. Sleeping Beauty Land is a flop.
Now, wait a minute. She's been asleep for 20 years, right?
Right.
Maybe people would pay money to talk to somebody who's been asleep for 20 years.
You mean...
Yes, we just wake her up.
We'll make a fortune. Go ahead and do it.
Who, me?
You put her to sleep, didn't you?
Well, frankly, no. I'm not really a wicked fairy. I'm just wicked.
But then how...
Easy. You kiss her. You're a prince, aren't you?
Well, not exactly. I never joined the union. I really make my living beating pigskins.
You mean?
Yes. I'm a hog flogger.
But just then a remarkable thing happened. Sleeping Beauty's eyes opened, and she sat up.
Don't worry, kids. I wasn't really asleep.
Then why the big 20-year act?
I just wanted to see if I could make it in showbiz.
Once upon a time, in a city far away, lived a kindly old woodcarver named Geppetto. His workshop was in the poorer section of town. It was very tiny, and his only tool was a crude jackknife.
Boy, this whittling sure gets to be a drag. Look at me talking to a pine-topper dummy. Oh, if you was only a real kid. I could get your paper out somewhere. Take it easy for a while.
Kindly old Geppetto had no sooner shuffled off to bed than a good fairy mysteriously appeared.
Oh, kindly old Geppetto, he's so lonely. I shall grant his wish and give this puppet life.
Hey, what happened? Who are you?
I'm the good fairy, and I've just brought you to life.
You're kidding.
No.
Well, look at me. I'm still wood. I want to be a real boy.
You shall be. But first you must do a brave deed.
I knew there was a catch in it.
Now you must tell kindly old Geppetto the good news.
And the good fairy disappeared as mysteriously as she had come. Pinocchio hurried to Geppetto's room.
Hey, kindly old Geppetto, wake up!
What have you selling the kid I don't want?
But I'm the puppet you carved. The good fairy brought me to life.
You kidding?
No.
If you're a puppet, where's your strings? Get out of here.
But it's true, kindly old Geppetto. See for yourself. Ouch!
When kindly old Geppetto finally realized that it really was true, he was overjoyed.
Oh, boy, hot the puppy is and also a yippee.
You're happy because you won't be lonely anymore?
No, I'm happy because I'm not going to be poor anymore. A talking a puppet with no strings is worth a fortune. I'm going to call you Pinocchio, starting my own television show.
Pinocchio? Why Pinocchio?
It's catchy.
But I don't want to be on television. I want to do a brave deed and become a real boy.
You out of your mind? Stay wood, boy, stay wood. I want to be the biggest of things since a Hunch and Juicy.
That's Punch and Judy, and I...
You stick with me, Splinters. We gonna straight to the top.
Sure enough. First thing next morning, they were in the office of J. Quincy Flogg, president of the television network.
I'll have to admit, it's something you don't see every day.
I thought we could put him on coast to coast to call it the Pinocchio Duty Show. Catchy, huh?
Kindly old Geppetto, I'll give you $1 million a week, okay?
Not so fast. I also gotta have 2 coffee breaks every day.
All right, you got a deal.
But, Father...
Stay wood.
After the contract was signed, there were 1,000 things to do. Costume fittings.
You're gonna be the greatest to hit since Lunch and Yehudi.
Punch and Judy.
That's what I say.
There were countless loose ends to tie together.
But, Father, can I be a real boy?
What's the matter? You got a sawdust for brains? Stay wood, boy, stay wood.
And, of course, there were rehearsals.
Okay, run it through the commercial again, Pinocchio.
But kindly old Geppetto, I've already done it 50 times.
Hey, you kid, you know what this is?
It's paper.
That's all right. You know what it's made of?
Wood.
That's all right again. Now, you want to wind up as a big brown roll in a butcher shop?
No, sir.
Okay, let's have the softest smile and a hard sell.
Then, at last, all was in readiness. The night of the big show had arrived.
Kindly old Geppetto, are you sure I'll be the best thing since Punch and Judy?
Who are they?
Skip it.
Stand by, 30 seconds.
Now, don't be nervous, little knothead. We got idiot cards all over the place.
Idiot cards?
Sure. These are cards right here. They got everything you gotta say printed on them. Somebody's gonna hold them up behind the cameras. All you gotta do is read them.
But I know my part, Connie, old Geppetto. I won't need them.
What? Not use idiot cards?
TV star not using idiot cards?
Why, that's the bravest thing I've ever heard.
And with just the thought of such a brave deed as that, Pinocchio instantly turned into a real boy.
I made it. I'm real. Come on with the show.
What the show?
Sure enough, because Pinocchio was no longer a living puppet, the big show was dropped rather hard. Pinocchio and kindly old Geppetto found themselves penniless in the street.
I told you, stay wood.
Just then, the good fairy appeared again.
See, kindly old Geppetto, Pinocchio has become a real boy. Now he can be your son and live with you forever.
What for?
So you won't be lonely.
You off, you chump lady? I want to be lonely. I don't like kids.
But you must. What about the happy ending?
You stick around and see how it comes out, huh? I'm a-leaving.
Father, come back.
Never mind, Pinocchio. Let him go. You see, he isn't your father at all.
He isn't?
No. There is your father.
Father!
Pinocchio was overjoyed to really find his daddy at last. And what about kindly old Geppetto? Well, he hid away where nobody would ever think of looking for him and went back to wood carving, for he figured that if he kept carving puppets, someday he might make another one that could talk.
Heads up, you guys. Give an ice cream cone to the first one that says ouch.
This is the way the story of Little Fred Riding Hood begins. Little Fred Riding Hood lived in a little woods in a little house with his little mother. As a lad, it could not be said that he was good looking. Nor very smart, for he could only count up to 1.
1?
And he did that badly. But the one thing that could be said about Little Fred Riding Hood was that he had a beautiful voice and could sing like a bird. And one morning, his mother said to him,
Freddie, dear.
Yes, Ma?
If you don't stop that off-key singing around the house, I'm going to lay into you with this broom.
But, Ma, Granny spent a fortune giving me singing lessons.
Yes, I know she did, and I think it's high time we got even with her. Now, here, take this basket of sheet music and go through the woods to Granny's house. Sing to her for a change and see how she likes it.
And so, taking the basket, Little Fred Riding Hood skipped merrily off into the woods. Skipping is a very hard way to travel, and Fred was out of condition anyway, so a short time later, he stopped to rest.
I will take 5 by this hollow stump.
But no sooner did Fred sit down than he heard an awful commotion within that stump.
Oh, ouch! Oh, my God! Ouch!
And there were 2 funny little men with high-pointed hats, and their long gray beards were tied firmly together.
What are you 2 doing in there?
We live in here.
But our beards have become tangled, and I fear we'll have to go through life looking each other in the eye.
Can you help us?
Oh, being a good lad, Fred agreed to try.
Hold tight. I'll rip you apart.
Will it hurt?
Oh! Yes.
Bidding them farewell, Little Fred Riding Hood continued on his way to Granny's house.
Oh, he was a good boy. I think we ought to reward him for being so kind to us.
Good idea. Let's cast a spell that'll make him grow more handsome every minute.
And so they did, and so he did. For unknown to Fred, every step he took, he became better looking, and better looking, until he was by far the handsomest man in the country.
Oh, what a handsome lad! How good looking!
Yeah, he's beautiful.
Hi, sweetie! Oh,
What's the matter? You all nuts or something?
But looking at the reflection in a meat market window, he saw that it was true. He was good looking.
Well, if that don't punch a hole in the boat.
The young ladies of the city were unable to control themselves at the sight of Little Fred Handsome Riding Hood, and the poor lad was mobbed.
You 2 funny little men are pretty funny. Now, come on, make me unhandsome so I can get to Granny's.
As this was his desire, they changed him back to plain old Fred.
That's better. Now,
I'll give you my lunch of cookie sandwiches to keep you busy. No more tricks now.
And with that, Fred once more set off down the road for Granny's house.
Wasn't that sweet of him to give us his lunch?
It certainly was. Let's reward him.
He looks awful thin. Let's cast a spell that will fatten him up.
They did. And just as before, with every step little Fred Riding Hood took, he grew fatter, fatter, and fatter, until he weighed over 700 pounds. Needless to say that when he stepped onto the high bridge that crossed the river, it collapsed with a roar.
They did it again.
And Fred waddled back to the hollow stump as fast as his obese little legs could carry him.
All right, you guys, knock it off.
He did get a little fatter than we figured.
So be it.
And Fred was returned to normal.
Why do you two keep casting spells onto me?
Because each time we've met, you have done a good deed for us.
And that is our way of rewarding you.
Some reward?
It was now growing quite late, and Fred hurried off down the road, but this time he ducked behind a large tree a short distance away and waited until he was sure the two funny little men were fast asleep.
I've got to do something to make them mad so they'll stop rewarding me, or I'll never get to Granny's.
Knowing that the little men were very proud of their long gray beards, Fred stole up to the hollow stump and, with a snip of his scout knife, he cut them off.
What happened?
Someone cut off our beards.
Who would do such a thing?
I would do such a thing, and I did. So long, fellas.
What a crazy kid, huh? What are you looking at?
You're a girl. What are you looking at?
You're a girl, too.
How do you like that? We're a couple of little witches.
And to think we'd never have known if that nice boy hadn't cut off our beards.
We should reward him.
That's a good idea. We'll cast a spell that will make a gold coin drop out of his mouth every time he opens it.
And they did. When little Fred Riding Hood finally reached Granny's house and opened his mouth to sing, instead of a lovely song, a gold coin dropped out of his mouth. Then another, and another, and another. And he paid off happily ever after, which you have probably already guessed is the way the story of little Fred Riding Hood ends.